What would you do if a vital part of your community suddenly vanished? This is a question we must consider when we talk about migrants in the United States. Migrants are people who come from other countries to live and work here. They are our neighbors, our colleagues, and the friendly faces we see every day in our local shops. They come seeking opportunity, safety, and a better life for their families. Their presence is deeply woven into the fabric of American society, often in ways we don't immediately recognize. They bring with them diverse cultures, new perspectives, and a powerful drive to succeed, which enriches our nation in countless ways beyond just the economic contributions. Many people wonder about the role migrants play in our economy. The truth is, they are incredibly important. Migrants are not just taking jobs, they are filling crucial gaps in our workforce. They often work in sectors that many native-born Americans are no longer entering, ensuring these industries continue to function and thrive. Think about the food we eat, the homes we live in, and the care our elderly receive. Migrant labor is a fundamental pillar supporting these essential services. Their hard work allows other parts of the economy to grow, creating a positive cycle of development and opportunity for everyone, a fact that is often overlooked in heated debates. When we look closer, we see that migrants are both producers and consumers. As workers, they contribute their skills and labor, which helps businesses produce goods and services more efficiently. This keeps companies competitive and helps the economy grow stronger. But they also spend their earnings here in the United States. They buy groceries, pay rent, purchase cars, and support local businesses, just like everyone else. This spending creates demand, which in turn creates more jobs for all Americans. It's a symbiotic relationship where their participation fuels the economic engine that benefits the entire nation, not just one specific group. Imagine for a moment what would happen if this foundation was suddenly removed. It's not just about empty jobs, it's about a chain reaction that could affect every single one of us. The removal of millions of people would create a vacuum in our economy, a sudden shock that would be difficult to absorb. We are talking about a significant portion of our population who are actively participating in our economic life every single day. Their departure would represent a monumental loss of human capital, consumer power, and entrepreneurial spirit. The question isn't just about policy, it's about understanding the real-world consequences for our shared prosperity. Let's consider the immediate impact on our most essential industries. Agriculture, for example, relies heavily on migrant workers to plant, tend, and harvest the crops that feed our nation. Without this labor force, farmers would face a severe crisis. Fields of fruits and vegetables could be left to rot simply because there would not be enough hands to pick them. This isn't a hypothetical scenario. It's a practical reality that agricultural leaders have warned about for years. The result would be a significant drop in food production, leading to empty shelves in our grocery stores and a direct threat to our country's food security and stability. This problem extends far beyond the farms and into our cities and towns. The construction industry, which builds our homes, offices, and infrastructure, would also face a crippling worker shortage. Many migrants work in physically demanding construction jobs, from framing houses to roofing and masonry. If they were no longer available, building projects would slow down or stop altogether. This would make it much harder and more expensive to build new homes, which could worsen the existing housing affordability crisis. The dream of homeownership would become even more distant for many American families as supply dwindles and prices skyrocket. Now think about the services we rely on daily. The hospitality industry, which includes hotels, restaurants, and tourism, would be dealt a heavy blow. Migrants fill many roles in this sector, from chefs and cooks to cleaning staff and hotel management. Without them, businesses would struggle to stay open. You might see restaurants reducing their hours, hotels closing entire floors, and the quality of service declining across the board. The cost of a hotel room or a meal out would inevitably increase as businesses compete for a much smaller pool of available workers, passing those higher labor costs directly onto the consumer. The healthcare sector, particularly elder care, would face a similar challenge. Many migrants work as home health aides and certified nursing assistants, providing essential care to our aging population. These are difficult, often emotionally taxing jobs that require immense compassion and dedication. A sudden removal of these caregivers would create a desperate situation for countless families who depend on them to look after their elderly loved ones. Nursing homes and assisted living facilities would be understaffed, and the quality of care for our most vulnerable citizens would be severely compromised, leaving families in an impossible position. When people work, they pay taxes. This is a simple fact of our economic system. Migrants, including those who are undocumented, contribute a significant amount of money to our government through taxes every single year. They pay sales taxes when they buy goods, property taxes through their rent or home ownership, and many pay income and payroll taxes that fund Social Security and Medicare. If millions of these contributors were removed, the government would see a sudden and dramatic drop in tax revenue. This would mean less money available for public services that everyone depends on, like schools, roads, and emergency services. This loss of tax revenue would create huge budget shortfalls at the federal, state, and local levels. Imagine your local town suddenly losing a large portion of its funding. What would happen? It might have to cut services, lay off teachers and firefighters, or delay essential repairs to infrastructure like bridges and water systems. Cities and towns with large migrant populations would be hit the hardest, potentially facing severe economic distress. The public services we all take for granted could be diminished, affecting the quality of life for every resident in the community, not just the migrants who have left. Beyond taxes, we must consider the impact on businesses. Migrants are not just employees. Many are also entrepreneurs who start their own businesses at a higher rate than the native-born population. They open restaurants, grocery stores, and service companies that create jobs and add vitality to our communities. Their removal would mean the closure of thousands of these small businesses, leading to job losses for American workers and a decline in local economic activity. The entrepreneurial energy that migrants bring is a powerful engine for innovation and growth, and its absence would be felt deeply in neighborhoods across the country. This leads to a wider problem, a decline in overall economic productivity. A smaller workforce means less economic output. With fewer people producing goods and services, the nation's gross domestic product, which is the primary measure of our economic health, would shrink. Businesses would struggle to expand or even maintain their current operations due to a lack of available workers. This could lead to a period of economic stagnation or even recession. The United States' position as a global economic leader would be weakened, as our capacity for growth is diminished by a self-inflicted wound to our labor force. The economic adjustments required after such a massive demographic shift would be incredibly slow and costly. Some might argue that technology and automation could fill the labor gap, but this is not a quick fix. Developing and implementing new technologies on a large scale takes many years and enormous investment. In the meantime, industries would suffer. A farmer cannot simply buy a robot to replace a skilled harvesting crew overnight. These long-term adjustments would be painful, and the transition period would be marked by economic disruption, lost productivity, and declining competitiveness on the global stage for American businesses. The long-term consequences for regional economies would be particularly severe. Certain states and cities have economies that are deeply intertwined with migrant labor. Think of agricultural regions in California or Texas, or cities like Miami and Houston. For these areas, the removal of migrants would not just be an economic downturn, it would be a catastrophic recession. Local housing markets could collapse as demand plummets, and entire communities that have been built around migrant populations could hollow out, becoming ghost towns. The ripple effects would spread, hurting property values and local businesses for years to come. Furthermore, we must think about the loss of skills and knowledge. Migrants bring a diverse range of skills, from specialized agricultural techniques to multilingual abilities that are valuable in a globalized world. When they leave, they take that human capital with them. This creates a skill gap that is difficult to fill. It would take generations to rebuild that base of knowledge and experience. Our economy would become less dynamic, less innovative, and less adaptable to future challenges. This loss of talent would put the United States at a significant disadvantage compared to other countries competing in the global marketplace. In the end, the economic fallout from the mass removal of migrants would likely be profoundly negative and long-lasting. It's not a simple issue with an easy solution. The picture that emerges is one of widespread labor shortages, rising prices for consumers, falling tax revenues for our government, and deep, painful recessions in many parts of the country. It would be a blow to our economy that could take decades to recover from. When we consider this issue, we must ask ourselves, what kind of future are we choosing? Is it one of growth and shared prosperity, or one of decline and economic hardship? The answer to this question will define our nation for generations in the years to come.